So I'll be going over the Motorola Tab 4. It's got a 10-inch screen with a Snapdragon 625, 2 gigs of RAM, 7,000 milliamp battery. Uses a USB-C with a 10-watt charger, dual speakers, Android 7.0. It's a little older, and an MSRP of $300 back in 2017. You can get this tablet on eBay right now for $100. I'm not affiliated with it by any means, but the big feature with this tablet is that screen. It's 1200 by 1920 and IPS. The other thing I really picked this tablet out for is the battery size. It's a huge battery. And then the third thing was the SoC. I ran Geekbench 4 on it. It did okay. Single core of 876. Multi-core was a little bit better at 4,262. In terms of pure power, Fire HD 10 will do better, but you have to deal with that. Amazon Fire OS, which I'm not a huge fan of. Now we got the Slingshot Benchmark at 844, which is pretty decent. This is a CPU throttle benchmark. It's a great way to test if you're on the tablet for a long time with this big battery. You probably will be, and to make sure it keeps running consistently with that 80% and over, you're not going to have to worry about any throttling or lag. I wanted to test this tablet out as a media consumption tablet because that was the main reason I bought this to begin with, just to watch movies on planes or out and about, and it does pretty good. It's 1080p, no drop frames, and 60 FPS. Here's Godzilla versus King Kong playing at 60 FPS, 1080p. I wanted to test this tablet at Emulation a bit, so I'm running the Redream emulator, playing one of my favorite games, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. As you can see, I had to turn down the speakers a little bit, they're pretty loud. And it's running it great with 60 FPS. It drops a little bit here and there, but you can hardly even notice it without that frame counter up there in the corner. It's pretty much flawless at the native resolution with no frame skip or anything. Now we got Power Stone 2 running on the native resolution. We got no frame skip. It is dropping down to the 50s. There's a little bit of audio distortion. Personally, when I turned on frame skip, it didn't make that much of a difference. So I just keep it without frame skip. Next is one of my most favorite arcade games, is Crazy Taxi 2. And it's not doing so well without any frame skip or being at the native resolution. I was kind of disappointed. It's getting some hangs here and there. When I added on frame skip, it actually ran a lot better though. Redream's one of the simplest emulators and best out there. You just go under video, then hit frame skip, and frame skips on. Some emulators, frame skip makes it pretty much unplayable, but you can see Redream does it right, and it's playing. I can't even tell it's on. I tried messing with VSync too. It didn't seem to give much of any improvement, so I'd probably say it's better to leave it off. Now we got Dead or Alive 2, one of the harder Dreamcast games to run. Running pretty well with frame skip on. Here's Sonic Adventure 2 with no frame skip. I'm kind of disappointed in this one. I thought it was going to run a lot better. I was hoping I didn't have to use frame skip on this game, but it runs it pretty well with it on, so. Now we're going to try one of the toughest PSP games to emulate on the PPS's PP emulator. Starting out with God of War Ghost of Sparta. It struggles pretty hard even with frame skip on. This first part is without frame skip. As you can see, it's like in the 40s. Lots of audio lag. Pretty much unplayable. Now I'm just throwing on every hack I can find, and frame skips on 2. We'll see how it runs. Still not running that great. I'm sure some people will say they can play it this way, but I can't do it myself. The game ran best on Vulkan with 1 frame skip, and I was surprised that this tablet even had Vulkan because it's an older tablet. Here's Star Wars Battlefront 2 running on 2x on OpenGL. It's really running great. This is an awesome game to play when you want to play a pseudo multiplayer game because it feels like a multiplayer game while being a single player one. Here's Dissidia running on 3x, not looking like a PSP game at all. It's a fighting game based on the Final Fantasy series. If you haven't tried Dissidia yet, give it a shot. Even if you don't like the Final Fantasy series, it's completely unique and different. And this is Tales of the World Radiant Mythology. Pretty much every Tales game I've ever played has always been pretty solid with action RPG elements into it with a decent story. It's running it at 3x, so it's an easier to run game, and it looks really good with this Moto Tab 4. If you have any anger towards onions, it's also a great game to play because you apparently kill a lot of onions in this game. Here's Bloody Roar 2 playing on Duck Station. It's running it pretty well. It drops down to like 56 here and there, but overall, it's very playable. This is Tales of Destiny 2, running at 2x and having no trouble here. So the easier to run games, you could run 2x on PS1 with Duck Station. This is Vigilante 8 Part 2. It's very similar to Twisted Metal 2 or Twisted Metal series. It is running terribly. I didn't know this game was such a hard game to run, and as you can see, it's running at 22 FPS on 2x. I drop it down, and it's still running not great. I guess this is the toughest PS1 game I've ran in. Here's Conker's Bad Fur Day running at 960 by 720, upscaled on the Mupin 64 Plus FZ edition. A little bit harder to run N64 game. Running it pretty great. Here's Goldeneye N64 running pretty smoothly at the same resolution, 960 by 720. This is Cruising the World, upscaled to 1440 by 1920. It looks pretty awesome at this resolution, I must say. It was an arcade game. This is Forsaken 64. It's a really unique battleship fighting game. They actually did a re-release on Steam. You can pick it up on there too. But it looks awesome on this 1920 by 1440p resolution here. This tablet's not going to be the most powerful in the world, but you're paying $100 for it, so you can't really expect that anyway. It's going to play videos and go on the internet. The 2 gigs of RAM kind of hurts it a bit. The older software is clunky, if I'm being honest, and its emulation capabilities are pretty decent, but like I said, not top of the line by any means. I would definitely give it a buy for the price. It can't be beat. If you're this far down the rabbit hole with YouTube, you know what to do. The YouTube stuff.